Hello and welcome to Conquering Mount Scrapmore with Brenda, and
Marie from Marie's Scrappy Creations.
today we're just doing a quick hangout and sew kind of a day and chatting about what kind of Christmas gifts and other gifts that we're going to be making. So, Marie, you went where and did what? Before we were chatting just a bit before we started recording. You went where and what did you do?
I had a craft fair 2 weeks ago where I just went so that I could get heat exhaustion, but no, not really. I did get heat exhaustion, but that was not my reason. I had some items and I really thought I was pushing the whole you can buy Christmas gifts thing, and it did work quite a bit. People kind of liked it. They went for the bags, and the key fobs were a big thing. The little coin purses like these.
Oh, wow. Oh, those are cute.
So not all of them are the same. Every single one I make basically is different. So some don't have anything on them. But if I have a little bit or bob, sometimes I'll put a little piece of lace down here and a button.
Yeah.
Or rickrack, anything at all. I just try to make each one a little bit different and sell them. But those are popular because they can be a coin purse. They can be a pacifier holder. They can hold your earbuds, your phone charger.
That little pouch that fits into your purse is perfect. You know,
Yeah, it is.
There's so many uses for that.
They're so quick to make up too, Brenda. And it just takes a scrap of fabric, 5.5 by 8.5 is what I cut them. So.
Oh, that's perfect. That's a perfect size.
Thank you. I thought so.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm working on today while we're chatting.
Well, I have promised, I don't know if that was such a good idea or not, to make Christmas Tawandis for my daughters and my nephew. So I finally got my nephews done yesterday.
Good job.
Oh my gosh. And it's huge, right? I mean, you forget how big these things are. So,
right.
Kind of, oh yeah, let's just, I want one for a double bed or a king size bed. And you're like, okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you have one, right? You can
yes, I do.
Okay. I'm excited. Is everyone excited? Oh, my land. Oh, Brenda.
It'll fit on top of it'll be like a topper for a king size bed. There won't be much drape, but
that would fit. Just to tell you, that would fit on my bed, Brenda.
So if my nephew and his wife don't like it, is that where you want?
I would think so. That's gorgeous. Yeah. That is gorgeous. What a lot of work.
Yeah, well, and it seemed after a while, it was after you're about like 10 inches in on all four sides, because the way you do a quantity is you start from the outside and you work your way in.
You work your way in.
Well, after you do about 10 sides, you wonder, okay, how many sides does this square have? Because it seems a whole lot more than 4.
I bet it does. I bet it does.
Yeah, so it was kind of, but it was good. I got it done, and we not in record time because we took holidays and went and visited the grandkids, but
well, you got to do that.
Get out there and get there.
Oh, and the other thing I sold a lot of, or quite a few of at the craft fair, were these Scrappy. I call them a Scrappy open wide zippered bag.
Oh yeah.
So the zipper extends past the edge.
Right.
So that you can use the total opening. You're not limited. If you get zipper tabs in there, you're kind of limited, which there's nothing wrong with that. I have plenty of bags like that. But I really like these. They have the squared seams and everything, and I get to use scraps. I don't always use scraps for them. Well, actually, I guess anything is a scrap, even if I'm using like this one here.
Yeah.
Because there's 2 pieces. But I love doing these ones and quilting them with the different fancy stitches. And people love to get those because you can throw them in a tote bag or a purse, or they can be a shaving kit.
Yeah. Well, and what do you consider a scrap? Is there some debate about what is a scrap?
There really is. And I've talked about this. In fact, when I first started my channel, I talked about that a lot. I'm in a group where we swap scrap blocks. And I signed up for the crumb block because I love crumbs. I'll sew crumbs together all day long. And crumbs are tiny.
Yeah.
Except for, no, they're not. It depends on the crumb sewer.
Yes.
because I got blocks that they had crumbs that were probably 2 by 3. And okay, it is a crumb, but to
Yeah.
me, that's a scrap. But I would say a scrap is anything less than a quarter yard. I will consider a scrap as far as putting it into a bag. I can still call it scrappy.
Yeah.
Uh, but I save anything for crumb piecing, anything 1 inch or larger.
Yeah, see, well, my strings are 3/4 of an inch is the tiniest measurement, and
Mhm.
anything shorter than 3.5 inches, I'm not big on keeping a string that small.
Mhm.
But anything like that's long and narrow shape that I can't mine a 2 inch or 2.5 inch strip out of,
Yeah,
basically is a string.
yeah.
And
Do
for
you do the
me,
postcards, Brenda?
my crumbs are bigger because I have bigger containers. Those baskets up here,
Sure.
Les got them for me at the dollar store, and they're
Yeah.
perfect because you iron your crumb and it sits there and it stays flat. It's lovely.
Well, aren't you neat? Mine are not that neat because
No,
I'm a chuck it in the bin kind of gal,
but when it comes to the scraps, like those shoe boxes here, the ones I have here on my,
Yeah, I see
yeah,
them
those,
stacked. Yep.
anything less than a fat quarter.
Yeah.
Like I
Yep.
have some scraps in there that are almost a fat quarter, but
Mhm.
somebody's taken a chunk out or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I just, yeah, that's
Yeah.
my rule. It's because it's my rule, it's my sewing room, right? So you
Well,
make
that's
it
it.
easier.
That's it. And I always tell people, you do you, because that's how it works. We do
Yeah.
what we're comfortable with, and
Well,
you know.
exactly.
So
And everybody's, all I do is, and when I cut strips out of my scraps, I'm usually cutting 1.5, 2, or 2.5, because that's the quilts I make. But there's some people, they won't handle anything smaller than a 5-inch square.
right,
It's
yes,
okay
that's true.
too, right?
But I did learn that lesson in the quilt group that I mean, I spent a lot of time to make a 12.5-inch block. I made 2 of them. You swap
Yeah.
2. So I put a lot of time in that. And I'm not saying the person didn't put time, but there was nothing close. But it was beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
It just did not match with my crumbs that I had going already. So I had to put them into different projects just simply because size-wise they didn't match with mine. But
Yeah. So have you done your the orphan block quilt yet?
I have not. I have not.
I'm afraid to
I
now at this
really
point in the
need to.
game.
We're working on a quilt along on my channel right now, and we're using 12.5-inch blocks, which wasn't my brightest moment, Brenda.
Oh, yeah.
Because yeah, not no. But
Yeah.
anyway, we're on block 4 this weekend, and what we're doing, because I have a lot of beginners, and there's nothing wrong with that. We all have to start
Yeah.
somewhere. Every single block is a beginner block, a beginner friendly. Yeah. And I think for a couple of them, I'm going to say, go watch this YouTuber. Because there are some 12.5-inch blocks out there, and they're not my blocks,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, and if you're not into making big quilt blocks either, I mean, yeah, I've got a bunch of orphan blocks. I haven't quite decided when I'm going to make my orphan block quilt, but I've got a few different ideas
Do
for an
you?
orphan block quilt, so that's okay.
Well, I've got a great big stack. I could probably make close to 3 full-size quilts from there. A lot of them are crazy blocks, but some they sent me batiks. I know someone's gonna just shoot me down for this. I don't like batiks. I don't like them at all. I've never gotten into them. So I have some orphan batik blocks that really need to do something.
Well, I have drawers and drawers of orphan blocks. Sometimes I've made blocks just for the sake of, something to keep busy,
Sure.
busy work,
Yeah.
and I'm okay with keeping busy. That's all right. I don't mind, doing something just to keep busy, or I'm interested in seeing how this block works, whether I can play with it
Yeah,
or
sure.
whatever. So
Yeah.
I'm, if it ends up being a crumb, an orphan block, it's an orphan block. It just
Yeah.
needs a home.
No big deal.
But I have drawers of them. and I've inherited orphan blocks that other people didn't know what to do with, and I'm like, oh dear.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, the thing is, you get a smaller one, it can be a pot holder or something, but the larger ones, you're kind of, well, a throw pillow, but you can only use so many pillows. So you kind of have to make a quilt.
Yeah, at some point you're going to have to make something bigger. Yes, I know. Which
I have a baby quilt.
Too.
Excuse me?
It can be fun too, making something larger.
Absolutely.
But it's got to be, there's got to be a more simpler process to making orphan block quilts than, the traditional orphan block, right? There has to be a simpler way of doing it.
And do you use sashing on most of yours when you do that?
Depends how out of shape some orphan blocks are orphan blocks because they were rejected, right? Because they were made for a quilt and the person making them went, oh, that's not going to work,
Right.
That kind of thing. So it's like, all right, so now you've got to do something with this block, right?
Well, can I ask you a question as a professional quilter and all? Can I ask you something? I have some blocks I received in swaps where the stitching was off. Their machine, something wasn't right. We're going to put it that way.
Okay.
So I'm kind of hesitant to use those blocks. I almost think it might be safer just to quilt them down onto a piece of cotton and make a pillow out of them or something, because I'd have to quilt them down. The stitches are not going to stay.
Oh yeah.
Any suggestions other than that on what to do with blocks like that?
Well, I hate to throw out a block.
Me too.
Because, just because it's, I don't know about with US is the prices of cotton are rising, but I mean,
yes, they are.
Canada,
yeah.
It's like, somebody asked for a quote last night, just a quick off the cuff kind of a quote. And I, to do a Saskatchewan Rough Rider, it's a football team up here in Canada. And I told her, I said, well, the last quote I did for that size was, $663. And that was 10 years ago. The prices of cotton have gone up and and everything else. So,
I agree.
Yeah, like, really? Is this what you want? It's kind of, I don't think I have time to make it, and that's before my time.
Sure, yeah.
It's just because the batting alone is like $100, right? It's like, wow,
Yeah.
People don't understand how expensive it's going.
Well, they don't. And I won't tell you the full brutal story because it's kind of sad, but I was selling these at the craft fair and I had one with Mario from the video game Mario. Yeah. And a little boy came by and wanted it. So it's long story short, his grandfather comes back with him and looks at it, and I've got it marked down from $12 to $10 because it's the last day and I'm trying to, not take so much home.
Yeah.
And he said, would you take $3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't sell it to him, did you?
I did not.
No.
I said, no, sir, I'm sorry, I won't. I said, I would not even get my materials back, let alone my time. I wanted to say, this is a craft fair, not a yard sale.
Yeah.
It got a little bit nastier on his end, but I won't bore you with that story, but let's just say he was a very rude customer.
Well, the thing too is, depending on his age, that
I would say mid-60s roughly.
Yeah, well, depending on his age, that might be a lot of money, like for him. But at the same time, it's like he's got to realize your table when you're doing a craft sale. Doing a craft, they don't give you those tables for nothing.
That's right. That's $60 I paid that day.
Yeah.
Well, I paid it. It was over 3 days, but still, yeah. I know what you're saying. So
Yeah.
what are you working on, Brenda, for Christmas? Other
Right
than the,
now, right now I'm working on the next Kawandi
yeah, and
because
those are so gorgeous.
I have I have blocks and blocks and I have stack of blocks, crumb blocks for Christmas that is all random Christmas prints and stuff.
Mhm.
So I figured, okay, I've got to get through, you know, get some of this out of my room. I have never in my life had a Christmas cart. I have a Christmas cart now.
Until now.
I have a Christmas cart, yeah,
Oh,
because my
there.
friend that passed, she loved Christmas and she loved Christmas fabric, and I now have a Christmas cart.
You now have it.
I have a cart full of Christmas fabric, and
Wow.
some of it is really cool and really eclectic and fun, and some of it is just like, wow, okay.
Well, you know, a friend of mine and I, we were just chatting just this afternoon about Christmas fabric. And we agreed it's nice and all, but you're only going to use it one time of year. Whereas if you have green fabric or red fabric that doesn't have candy canes or Santa, you can use that as Christmas fabric, but you can also use it Valentine's Day or whenever.
Yeah.
So,
I never shop. I guess when I shopped, I never shopped in the seasonal aisle. Like I ended up being inherited, Christmas or Halloween prints or whatever, which is for
sure.
me it was fine, right? But I never shopped in the seasonal aisle, right? I was like quite shocked as how much Christmas fabric is actually here,
Yeah.
But I mean, some people, I mean, when I'm looking at spending my dollar, I would rather buy red fabric, green fabric that I can use for other things.
Exactly, then for one time of year.
And I do
Yeah.
put, and I used to put a little bit of Christmas fabric in every year, everything, just a little bit, because I could,
Yeah.
and I would manage it better that way. But this, yeah, like, wow, yeah, I got a lot of Christmas fabric.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's lovely. She has some amazing taste, but I was like, wow, there's a lot of Christmas fabric here.
Well, you know, one thing for holiday fabric that I now look for that I never used to think this way, but now I do, is if I'm going to go out and buy Christmas fabric now, I'm going to be more picky about it. And I'm going to buy something that maybe has a good fussy cut feature that I can use that many different ways, like an applique pot holder, or maybe I'm going to make a table runner with applique. So I can cut the fabric out of those Christmas prints, but use them with plain green, red, white, beige, whatever that is non-Christmas fabric, if that makes sense. So I
That's
look
good.
at fabric differently than even 2 years ago.
Yeah, and and there's so many beautiful fabrics out now too, right?
Oh, there are.
I mean, all they want us to buy, which I mean, okay, they want us to buy. I don't have a problem with buying. My problem is, yeah, I need to figure out, okay, if I'm going to keep buying, I'm gonna have to get a bigger room or a bigger house. I haven't figured out which yet, but
one or the other, Brenda.
one or the other is gonna have to happen here. Because yeah, you see my stash behind me, right?
I do.
And some people have already said, wow, that's an obscene amount of fabric. And I'm going, well, yeah.
Well, I have to confess that I talked about you and your neat scrap piles on tomorrow's video because I was like, you guys have not seen neat until you've seen Brenda with her scraps because I'm very impressed.
So I used to, when I worked, I could do really well with one thing at a time, and I would have all the components of one thing out on my desk at one time, right?
Yeah.
If I had to have several, there was a chance that there was going to be mistakes and errors, right? So
sure.
Yeah, I don't, just one thing at a time, and this room looks dreadful right now. I'm kind of embarrassed to film.
Well, really. Yeah, but it looks like a sewing room. Mine just looks like I chucked some stuff in here because I haven't decorated and I have a closet behind me, but this used to be our room, and I'm changing it into a sewing room. It hasn't made its full debut yet. Let's
Yeah.
say. But
Yeah, it's so I have a few ideas that I want to make for people for Christmas.
okay.
And I was wondering, you're usually good for a bunch of ideas too, right? Because you have lots of those fun ideas for Christmas and
Well, I try, because I try to do the little items, because what it is, Brenda, is I made quilts for quite a few years, so I amassed a lot of small pieces of fabric left over. I'm not telling you anything you don't need to know, right? You don't already know. So I try to come up with all these little things, because not only do they're scrap busters, but they make great gifts.
Yeah.
And I've done these, family and friends, they've all got these. So this year, I'm not going that way. But
What?
I'm not. Some who haven't gotten it yet are. But I'll tell you what I'm going to lean towards this year is some pillows. Because there's a lot of different pillows you can make from scraps. I don't know if you do pillows, but you can do for the grandkids or nieces and nephews the name pillows, where you put their name with the different scraps of fabric for each letter.
Yeah.
Or you can do, say you're going to make a Christmas themed pillow for your couch. You could use some heat and bond and grab some of that fabric, like what I was saying, something that you can fussy cut a certain feature, whether it be a bell or Santa or an angel or whatever.
Yeah.
And you could put them on like a 9-patch block, quilt that down to some cotton, and make yourself a throw pillow.
Yeah. That would look cute too, right?
It would.
My oldest daughter wants slip covers for her couch for Christmas that are crumb blocks and Christmas fabrics. So once I get the Kawandies done, I'm going to be making more slip covers and just, like sewing crumb blocks together.
Sure.
Why not? It's one of those things that you like to, you play around with it, and after a while you get some really eclectic, lovely things going.
Yep. Well, the thing like about a pillow cover is they can switch them out for the seasons or the holidays or whatever. So you can have one pillow and you could keep gifting them different pillow covers.
Yep. And
So
she's got a gray couch too, right? So gray is a pretty.
Yeah. Oh yeah, everything goes.
And it's a cool gray, so it's the blue undertones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that'll be pretty.
It leaves you a lot of wiggle room for.
Yeah, so you can play around lots with different colors. But yeah. But her children are, 7, 5, and 3, so you can imagine what's some of that probably looks like. We all survived it, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
It's what it is. We've all been there.
We've all been there. We've all done that. We've all. Yeah. Oh well. And it goes. That time goes by so fast.
It really does. Yeah, it really does.
My grandsons are both going through growing spurts this summer, and I told Liz on our family chat, go measure them. She has those boards that are on the wall, and each kid has got their own board. And the one who grew the most was the granddaughter, the little one, the 3-year-old. Really? And I'm like, oh, that's a surprise. Like, oh, okay. Yeah. Oh my, nobody was expecting her to come win the who grew the most race, but that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Goodness.
Oh, it broke again. What is wrong? What
happened?
What's wrong with
I saw a Singer featherweight for sale this morning on Facebook Marketplace, Brenda.
Ooh, did you?
They had it marked down. They had $600 crossed out for $300, and there's barely a scratch on it. It's got the manual. It was pretty.
Yes. The problem with those is they're quilters have done this to ourselves, right? They're so in demand.
Yeah.
It's like the 301A, the ones that I sew on.
Yeah.
Those machines are beautiful and everybody loves them, and it's a perfect straight stitch, and they're now worth, I forget how much money they worth now. And it's like, for a 301A is ridiculous what they're worth.
Huh.
I mean, you know, we've seen them in the States for $200 because they weren't at the time popular with the quilters. But as soon as quilters find out they're a straight stitch machine and they line up those stitches, when you look at a magnifying glass, they line up like this. When you have a zigzag machine or a machine that like this that can do all sorts of other those fancy stitches, is a zigzag machine that does a straight stitch. That stitch is just
they're a little bit,
slightly,
they are, I've noticed that.
and it takes up a bit more room in the seam, right? So people are like, well, I've done this, I know how many times, and now my seams are too skinny.
Now I don't have
because
my
you're
quarter
using a
inch.
straight stitch machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of figured that was the case, because like my last sewing machine that I had before this, I was like, why isn't that seam straight, you know, the stitches straight? And then I got this, and directly out of the box, if you look at that straight seam, just like you said, they are not followed one on top of the other directly. They are just slightly off.
Yeah. Just, and we're talking like less than a thread width, but that thread width is enough to throw your seam allowance out. Right?
Yeah, and you multiply that towards every seam going across your quilt.
Yeah. Well, for some reason it didn't break. Okay.
I did find someone who can work on my old machine in our area, because I know the last time I talked to you, I told you I have a 1954 Singer that really needs some work, and I don't know the model number, I'm sorry. It's a 91, is that right? I don't know. Anyway. If you want to hear the countrified story, I can tell you, because it was hilarious.
Okay, let's hear it.
All right. So I live in a very rural area.
Yes.
And if you type in sewing machine repair, Google tells you ha ha ha. No, really they don't. It just gives you the name of some guy that does small engine repair. So I call this guy and I said, you work on sewing machines? And this really gravelly elderly man goes, no, I don't. I said, oh, well, Google told me that you do. And he says, I don't know who told Google that, but I don't. He says, you want Kermit? I said, Kermit? He said, yeah. He says, retired postman. That's who you want. He takes them in and he fixes them. And I said, what's his last name? He said, I don't know. I'm just telling you, his name's Kermit. I'm like, okay, thank you, sir. I Googled in my area, retired postman Kermit fixed sewing machine, and I found the guy. And I called him. So he said he charges $60 to completely take the machine apart, clean it, oil it, do whatever. And he'll fix, you know, whatever's wrong as far as that goes. If it's not stitching right. He said, the only thing that will cost you more than $60 is if I have to replace a part. He says, but I doubt I have to. Probably all adjustment. So is that a good price, $60? It sounded good to me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, even up here, $60 is good.
Is that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I wasn't sure.
Is a good price.
So I asked him about my treadle machine, and he said, well, I can work on them, but I don't. He said, they're too heavy. I don't have room in my shop, and I can't lift them anymore, which that's understandable. But now I've got a treadle that I really wish was working. Yeah, we've gone on, you know, YouTube University. We've tried to do it ourselves. There is something that we're missing. We know we
are. Check out Andy, the sewing machine doctor. Okay. She's got green hair. She's Lynn Reinhardt's friend. And she does a lot of vintage machines, and she just does a beautiful job.
Wow. Yeah.
Like anybody that's needing help, that kind of help, I just send them to her. And she's got YouTube University, you know. Yeah. She's very talented, And she's got a good sense of humor too, right?
Oh, that always helps.
Yeah, you always have to have some kind of good sense of humor when you start working on machines.
Yeah, yeah, because it could go south quickly otherwise.
Yes, it can.
Yeah.
Yes, it can. Oh, all right.
Yeah, this brand new machine of mine.
Huh?
Excuse me? I was going to say this brand new machine of mine. My cat knocked it over about a month ago and parts went flying everywhere.
Oh dear. Oh
It's
no.
completely electronic, computerized, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It was in 4 separate pieces. Stuff had snapped off. The little place where you turn it on, the plastic had gone. Oh my land! I thought it was a goner.
Yeah.
But so far, so good. Everything is still working. And you know what saved it? Was
What?
my little. I have one of those little sets of lights that you stick on your machine. And when the cat knocked it, it frayed those wires. But I think that slowed the descent to the floor enough that it didn't go as hard as it would have.
Oh wow. Well, that's good.
Yeah. So
yeah.
that was interesting.
I've do you ever watch So Yeah, those So Yeah brothers?
I've never heard of them, no.
They're out of Vegas. They're out of Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And every once in a while they'll do videos on what crazy stunt they're gonna do with their Bernina.
Okay.
And they're out in the Nevada desert. They decided they were gonna take a rifle and shoot it. This
Why?
Bernina, and it's still sewed. I was like, okay. And then what was it? One other one they did, and I just couldn't believe that you would do this to a sewing machine. But anyways, they took it and they blew it up with a kind of put a bomb under it or a homemade bomb under it, and it was just like, I just that kind of like, oh my gosh, yes. And it was they took a manual machine. It was a manual machine, not an electronic one. But I mean, it was like,
yeah, but still, wow.
Tough, you know.
Yeah.
When they found it, it didn't sew because it was they put a little bit too much explosive under it. So, yeah.
I would think any bit would be too much, but what would I know, right?
Well, they had a camera. It just wiped out everything for like 30 feet in every direction. It's like you guys could have taken off your heads. Oh my lord.
But I asked why they would do that, but they get views.
Oh yeah, and they sell Bernina machines, right? They also sell fabric. They do online live fabric sales and notion sales.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
You know. But yeah, I just couldn't believe it. They actually took a Bernina and blew it up. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's too much time on their hands if that's what
I guess so. I wouldn't have time for that. All this sewing and chatting, and I've only messed up one seam, Brenda. Are you proud of me yet? I forgot to move my needle position over.
Oh, okay.
And I just missed one. That's it.
Well, that's not bad.
Nah, I have a handy dandy seam ripper. A friend of mine sent me this, and this thing is my new favorite toy.
Oh, wow.
It has some heft to it. So we've got 2 ends. The seam ripper end and I call it an awl, but it's anyway, very nice. She sent it to me from a stiletto. Thank you. I end up calling it an awl, but I know that's not it. But it came from Australia and I love it. Love it.
Oh, wow. Very nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Very, very nice. Nice gift.
It really is, I guess. I always had those little cheap things that you buy a couple dollars, they last about a month, and then you're like, hey, that thing's dull. So this thing is really sharp.
Well, we went and got when you're doing kawandis, it's almost easier to do a kawandi if you have an awl or a stiletto.
Sure.
Right? You got to get so close to the needle. And after cutting my finger with a rotary cutter and getting 9 stitches and a concussion, I kind of want my fingers, to stay away.
I bet you do.
Yeah.
I bet you do.
And we started using that stiletto, I always sewed with if I had to get too close, I would use a knitting needle.
Yep.
But that stiletto actually it's a sharp end and it just kind of holds it. And you just stab your fabric and it ain't
Well,
moving.
I bought one of those, they call them that purple thing or something.
Oh, yes.
I find that thing, I cannot use that. I can't remember how much it was, but that was money down the drain to me because I just don't see the use of that.
Oh, yeah.
I think a person has to, I don't know how to describe it. Everyone has the tools that they like and that they find useful.
Yep.
I have tried that thing and tried it, but for me, it just isn't that handy. But maybe it's because I never had one, so I used other items.
Yeah. Well, I had a collection of knitting needles, and I figured, okay, well, like the double-ended ones that you used to make socks.
Yeah, I'm a knitter.
I had an extra one, so I figured, oh well, that's fine.
Yeah.
Because they come in sets of 4. Well, you might as well.
Yeah.
You might as well just use it and get it over with.
I've tried knitting needles, but I've poked them out through the corner.
Yeah.
Like to use them to poke out a corner. I have poked out the corner all right.
Yeah. Well, there's that's always a possibility.
It really is, isn't it?
It's a bad thing to happen. That would be bad. I always tell people, if you do that, that's bad. That's not.
Yeah, don't do that.
No, that's not a good thing.
Listen to Brenda. Brenda knows. It is bad. It is bad.
The one thing I do like about Kawandis, you rip everything just straight of grain.
That is cool. That is cool. And very time saving.
Yeah.
I would think.
Huge time saver.
Yeah.
Huge, because you're not, there's sometimes you have to pull out your big scissor and all the rest of the stuff, right? Because it's pointless cutting something with the world's tiniest, Teflon scissor, right? But yeah, most of the time, yeah, it's slick. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I bet.
And like I say, I'm just putting in the some of my fabric. Okay, I'm using darks flannels, so I'm putting a cream because my back is cream. My backing on this is cream, so I'm putting plain cream cheap muslin down on the wrong side of the backing, and then putting my batting, my flannel that's really bright colored, and I figured, okay, we'll just make it happen. We'll just make it happen. It'll be fine. Yeah.
You talk about cutting or ripping that. I was just talking today about how time consuming things can be to cut out. I love to sew, but to cut the stuff out is so time consuming.
Yeah.
And I just purchased that wallet pattern, that NCW, the
oh yes.
Yeah, necessary clutch wallet. Just took me a moment. Because I've been wanting to make that for like 3 years or more.
Is that for Emma Bags?
Yes, it is.
Emma Bags is within rock throwing distance of my house.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, I finally broke down and bought it, but there's a lot to the cutting of it. But I just saw on YouTube University, mind you, that I can use my Cricut Maker to cut it out. But I have to get the longer cutting mat, not the one that came with my Cricut Maker.
Oh, so,
yeah, so there is a way, but there's all kinds of hints and tips and stuff.
Yeah, I walked into her store before the pandemic, and I could not believe my eyes.
Really? What's it like?
Beautiful, beautiful fabrics. Just gorgeous stuff. Very talented woman.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, her patterns, because that's not the only pattern she's got that I've looked at. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. Yeah, I was very, very surprised at how some of her stuff was just so lovely. Just yeah. And she's got a really good taste in fabric and everything else, right? I mean, But I mean, it was for purses, and I'm like, I couldn't believe what some of the little metal bits
Yeah.
worth. It was like, wow.
Oh, you mean to go on the bags and
Yeah,
stuff?
she's got
Yeah.
all of that, and she's got a big, beautiful warehouse in the back. I was very impressed with that operation.
Yeah, I know she has all the things that you need. You can buy from her all the bits of
Yeah.
hardware. So that's on my to-do list as well.
Yeah, well, when we got there when just before they dropped the busload of purse makers out, and
Oh,
it was the front of her shop is probably like 10 by 12, if I doubt if it's even that big. But all of a sudden there's like 20 women in there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's really crowded.
yeah. Yeah, too
But
much.
they're, everybody bought something. I was just flabbergasted stuff, the selection she had.
Yeah.
In that little kiosk kind of a front, and then this, like I say, this big beautiful background. And I don't know how many people I have met since that order stuff from her, because she just is, amazing stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, that necessary clutch wallet is primo. I mean, it has everything you need in a wallet. It's all there. And then on top of the pattern, you've got people who have added, oh, try this way and try adding this or that. So there's so many different ways you can do it.
Yeah.
Customize it.
Oh, yeah. And it, like I say, you're right. It probably is one of those things that, everybody wants one, right? Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking once I get one cut, that's going to be Christmas gifts for a few of the girls.
Yeah, she's in what I would call the suburbs, right? Because I'm in Edmonton, Alberta, and she's I think in Stony Plain or Spruce Grove. I can't remember where she is now, but wow, she's got some pretty cool, pretty awesome business sense going on.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Yeah, very impressive.
It's good that she's done well for herself.
Yeah. It's nice to see when somebody that is very talented gets ahead.
Yes, when they succeed, you want to cheer for them.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I agree. And I love to see, I mean, I know I'm not 90 here or something, but I love to see younger people sewing and creative. I just love to see it.
Yes, that's important too.
Because when we were in school, we had home ec and stuff. My mother sewed. She sewed our clothes and things like that. But a lot of kids today don't have those influences like what we had to get us started or not or whatever. But, whether it's a neighbor lady or what,
Yeah, and I think too, you're missing out.
Oh, absolutely.
Like my mom understood sewing to the point where she could just draw her own pattern.
Yeah, that was my mom too. Yeah, my mom's still with us, but I'm just saying she doesn't do that kind of sewing anymore.
No, but you know what I'm saying? They did at one time.
Yeah,
and they never thought twice about it. They were like, "Well, I like that dress. Let's just go home and make it."
Yeah, let's make one. How was that bodice done? Yeah. I was about 8 years old and went to spend the night at my great grandmother's house, and I had forgotten my nightgown. And she said, "Go grab me one of those sheets out of the linen closet." So I did.
Here, I gotta show you the sweet fabric.
Oh, isn't that sweet? I love it.
It's the last of. It's the last of.
Well, that's always good, though.
The very last time. Some quilt is getting this.
Well, it's adorable.
Yeah. I love
it. But anyway, yeah, before I went to bed that night, there was a yoke on the nightgown that she made out of that sheet, and she had some kind of lace. I don't remember. Of course, it's been so long. Yeah. But she completely made me a nightgown inside of like whatever time she told me to get my nightgown on. I didn't have one, and bedtime. So
I know they thought of it a lot differently. They thought of sewing a lot differently than we did.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's where I learned how to sew, but not to the way, I mean, I learned how to sew Barbie clothes.
In a different way, you learn.
Yeah, Barbie clothes, and they all had their darts and stuff like this, but you know, it wasn't the same as learning how to, you know, draw your own patterns, and
Mhm.
yeah, that wasn't part of it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But a lot of what they did, they had to do.
Yeah.
They didn't have a choice. I mean, really.
No, they didn't. So this
So,
one, I think, you know, this is where I think our grandmothers and mothers had probably more fun quilting and creating, because
yes,
they had to do it, but it didn't have to be perfect. Now everybody
that's right.
has the
Now it's like
expectation.
your points and all that. Yeah,
Yeah, it's very stressful, you know, like that people are looking at this way too, you know.
seriously. That's
Yeah,
right.
guys, you know, it's supposed to
Yeah.
be fun hobby.
Mhm.
Fun.
Well, it's like what I say a lot to my subscribers. I'll say it's scrappy. It's not supposed to be perfect. You know, you've got to have fun with it, because if you don't have fun with it, why even bother?
Yes.
So you can't go for perfection. Yeah, we all like our seams to meet when we're doing a quilt, or we like this or that, but that doesn't mean it has to be perfect. It
Yeah.
should look homemade. It should look like someone sat there and did that it wasn't done at a factory.
That's right. I agree wholeheartedly.
And that is my 2 cents worth. But
Oh,
I like
I
homemade
see.
items to look homemade. What you got there, Brenda?
This isn't this is white fabric. This is like white on white. It's not. Why do I have it there? Oh well, I'll better get it out.
Uh-oh, I was bragging about your sorting system just today. Don't let me down now, girlfriend.
Was it somebody had, yeah, maybe I don't know, maybe I had an aneurysm or something. I mean, who knows. Okay, so let's get a little bit more this behind there. There we go. Okay.
I figured I would get through half of these while we were talking, but I'm getting through most of them, so I feel very productive. You bring out the productive in me, Brenda.
Awesome.
I have been looking forward to this because when we first chatted on Zoom months ago, remember we were going to do it for like 30 minutes or something, and we were like, plus the 3 hours or something, I don't know, 2 hours or something, but
yeah,
we had a great time anyway. So.
Yes, we did. We did. It was fun. It was wonderful. So,
Yeah.
anyways, you said you have a granddaughter coming and a roast in the oven.
I do. Yeah, I can smell the roast. I've got to still cook the corn on the cob.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So, like I say, I'm going to be doing some Christmas gifts, quick Christmas gifts, little things.
Sure. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just moving some more Christmas fabric out, because
Sure.
There's a lot of it.
Well, my plan as far as Christmas things go is once we get through the end of September, I'm going to focus on autumn, although the things that we make can be gifts.
Yeah.
But once September's over with, I'm going, not every video, but pretty much full force, because everybody needs ideas.
Oh yeah, and it's, you know, and people want like something very quick too, right?
Sure.
We get invited for little social gatherings, or, you know, I don't know, every state, it seems every state and province is a little bit different now on what you're allowed to gather, and, you know, how many. And the pandemic is not over.
No, it is not.
Unfortunately, we're being told now it'll probably stay forever. We will probably have this.
Yeah, I don't think that we're going to see the end of it.
No,
I really don't.
I mean, that's unfortunate, but I mean, if that's the way it's got to go.
Yeah.
I need a wider piece. Well, so.
But yeah, there's a lot of little things that'll make good gifts that we can come up with, though, Brenda.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We have the fabric. You have the fabric.
Do I have fabric? What's your address? What can I send you? Isn't that terrible?
I bet you if someone said, "Hey, Brenda, do you have a beach scene with purple pails?" You could say, "Hold on, I'll go find it."
One of my Gill sisters, I asked her, I said, "You have grandchildren, right?" And she goes, "Yeah." And she said, "Are you making them like an advent calendar or whatever?" And she goes, "Oh, yeah, I was thinking of it." And she said, "But I haven't really found anything I like." I said, "How about finding something free? Pick me, pick me."
Yeah, exactly.
You have fabric that you want to, of course I do.
And what is it about? I don't care how much fabric you have. If someone has scraps or wants to give you fabric, it's always pretty fabric, isn't it? It's always, oh, I could do something with that. It inspires new ideas when I see other people's like scraps and things.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, mine too. Mine too. I just find that it's I sometimes wonder about my mental health.
You're fine, Brenda. You think I wouldn't tell you if you were over the cuckoo's nest?
If I am I harmless?
Oh, you're good. You're good to
Am
go.
I still fun? Okay, I'm still.
Oh, you're fun.
Good.
Well, I'm just saying I'd tell you. I didn't say it would harm our friendship. What's a little crazy thrown in there? That makes it fun.
Yes, that does. That does. Oh, yeah. Oh.
Yes. Wow, I really did come a long ways today, though. I did.
Did you?
I did. I really did. I got quite a stack of them done over there.
Oh, did you? What
Quite
were you making?
Well, they're going to be these coin purse things like this. So when I get them to this point where I have the zipper on and it's top stitched, now I decide what I want to do for embellishments, because I have to do it while I can still open the zipper and put buttons, lace, rickrack, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I knew I wouldn't be doing that on camera, because you got to sort through. I save scraps of everything, not just fabric. I have cotton batting scraps. I have heat and bond scraps. I have scraps of fusible fleece. I have scraps of lace that was cut off that's probably an inch, but you know what? A little inch piece of lace on here with a button on top. Perfect.
You know what I did on my channel? We were doing a Dresden case study while we're playing here. We're in the middle of our Dresden case study. And because Dresdens are a round circle, you can't do things like change one element, a corner, a middle, a section, sides. Like you can't do that with a Dresden, right?
Right.
Because it's round. It's not, doesn't fit into a 9-patch configuration. Right. So I decided I'd make a purse out of Dresden blades, right? Like just a straight little, cute little, Dresden, easy Dresden blade thing. Well, I gave it to my granddaughter, and I had put little snap on there to close the purse and a little lace, white lace flower, right? So I gave her a green Dresden fan blade purse with this little white button. The first thing she does is she touches the little lace and ooh.
I tell you, it's all about the embellishment.
Yeah.
I mean, I just had a subscriber ask me about if I needed fabric or wanted some of her fabric or whatever. And the second time she messaged me, she said, "What about lace, embellishments, buttons?" I'm like, yes, yes, and yes. Because who can't use that? Well, some people don't, but I love that stuff. I love to create and make it pretty.
Oh yeah, totally. Totally.
And you can put that on a quilt block. You can make a crazy block and put lace or rickrack. You could do anything you want on that stuff. It just adds to it. So.
Oh. Okay. I just have to figure out, I'm almost one full round away. We'll do a couple more rounds this afternoon, and this will start coming together.
Yeah, it's only
a
little after 2 your time.
Huh?
I think you're 2 hours behind us.
Yeah, it's like 2, quarter after 2. It's all good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oops. Oh, I'm running out of cotton. Okay.
So do you make fabric postcards out of any of your scraps, Brenda? Have you
I
ever tried
have
that?
friends that just love those fabric postcards, and I look at them and I go, yeah, that would be cool to make someday.
Yeah. Well, they're a miniature quilt, and that's what's fun for me is I'll cut them all out. It seems to me it's like 4x6 or 5x7 maybe. I cut the batting because you know
Yeah.
you always cut it a little bit bigger. And then I'll just sit there with all those little strips of fabric.
Yeah.
And that's where the selvage edges and the lace and rickrack come in handy too.
Yeah.
And there's another thing for Christmas, Brenda.
Yeah.
Those little fabric postcards done with your Christmas scraps make a beautiful Christmas card.
Okay.
I just made magnets out of scraps. Have you ever done that?
No, I haven't.
We took some teeny tiny little scraps and made what looked like little crazy quilt block and made magnets out of them.
Yeah, I see people doing that kind of thing, and I just like, wow, that looks really interesting. It looks like fun, and then I never get around to it. And
I understand that though, I do.
And I'm just like, I've got so many other projects on the go, and what I'm thinking about doing, and yeah, it's just like keeping up to it all is overwhelming.
Right. And I mean, there's a lot of things I can say about like that too, where I'm like, oh, I really want to do that. And it's on my to-do list, but I'm not getting to it. Let's be honest, because you can only get to so many things. So
well, and that's it too, right? Like, I mean, okay, where's your priorities this week? What do you have to get done this week? You know,
exactly. Yeah.
You know, so I kind of, it's still fun for Les and I to do this. You know, and as long as it's fun, I mean,
that's it.
Yeah, it's all good, but I mean, as soon as it becomes more like a job,
right?
Yeah, I'm retired from one already. Thanks, I'm good.
Yeah, you're good. I'm on my last one, Brenda.
Are you serious? Oh my God.
My last one. It didn't really match, but I had this medical stuff and I had an orange zipper. I don't know if you can see how bright, brilliant pumpkin orange that zipper is. But the only thing orange on here is a Band-Aid, or the only thing even close to orange is a Band-Aid. And I'm going to call it good because I need to use the zipper. So
yeah. Yeah, I am really surprised too how much notions have gone up.
Oh my land, yes. I'm lucky that I have a lot, so I don't have to buy them very often.
Yeah.
But, oh, you are right.
I went to, where was it now? Well, it was a fabric store where it wasn't just quilting fabric they were selling everything. And the buttons, I was thinking of making myself a jacket. Okay. Just a casual fall jacket. Mm-hmm. The buttons, like they're for two of them were $16.
Wow. Oh,
and
wow.
I'm like, they're larger jacket buttons.
Well, yeah, of course, but still, that's
the jacket I'm thinking is a double-breasted, so I would need 8, and then cuffs, you know. And I'm like,
you're rethinking your jacket immediately.
I'm not spending that kind of money on buttons.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You know, and now I understand why our grandmothers
saved everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure I've got a button box here. You know, that my
I have 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, yeah, well, you might as well use it up. Well, now you understand why. They at that time probably thought $1 for 8 of them was too much.
Right. Right. And it's true. And I have buttons that are vintage, and I mean vintage buttons from like the 40s.
Yep.
I got from a friend's mother. She was having a yard sale. And I mean, she had everything. Like they were from her husband's work jacket or from the son's shirts and things.
Yeah.
And I do that now. I hardly ever throw clothing away without using something about it. And especially buttons. But you can take zippers out of a lot of things too.
Well, yeah. Like, and for people like yourself that are making other craft projects, yeah. Like, yeah, it's like, yeah, of course you're going to use that up. Right?
You know what I saw used really neatly, Brenda?
What?
is a friend of mine she uses scraps of fabric, but she doesn't sew. Okay. Well,
Okay.
by hand she does. She makes yo-yos and things. But she had these little angels she'd made their wings, and I'm like, that looks like those cotton mops. You know, you get the cotton mops that just look like cotton yarn, thick cotton yarn. I said, is that what it is? And she said, no. Someone was throwing away a chenille bedspread and I cut off the bottom, the fringe. So see,
Very cool.
it really was. And it fit those so perfectly. And I mean, what an eye to think of that. But we're all creative in our own ways. And it depends on what we create, what we see
Yeah.
in something that's going to be thrown away.
And I have a real hard time now with fast fashion too, right? I mean,
Oh, yes.
you know, I have a big problem with
I do too.
people
Throw away.
out and
Yeah.
like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm becoming old and fuddy-duddy-ish.
Well, I don't think it's that. I mean, if you look at what it takes to produce even one t-shirt for water and earth resources, and people don't think anything of stuff anymore. They just buy it and buy it and buy it because they just throw it away.
Yeah, they can just pitch it out when they're done. Yeah, they don't have any, there's no connection to it. Yeah.
Right. Whereas if you take something, say my great grandmother, when she made her kids' clothing, they wouldn't have just said, oh, that's got a stain on it, I'm going to throw it away, like you would now. There was more of a connection to where it came from and how it was produced.
Yeah. I mean, I feel for the women that, you know, get upset when they give a quilt to their niece or nephew or whatever, and they see the dog is laying on it. I feel
that happened to me.
I feel for
a baby quilt, and the cat had kittens on it, so been burnt. But you don't know how it's going to be received these days.
Well,
sad.
And once you give away a quilt, it's not yours to comment on.
That's right. You can't say anything about it. Whatever they do with it is their business, apparently. But I'm still thinking of it 25 years later. Yeah.
I have just a little piece of cotton missing. Nothing from behind here. Darn. Oh well, we're just gonna lay this in and hope for the best.
So what's your favorite size quilt to make, Brenda? If you could just make one size all the time, what would you make?
Well, that's kind of I like lap quilts. I like lap quilts, but couch throws or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But what I find, the quilt that I find most useful is twins, twin size. And I make mine twin size a little bit on the big side, so they can go,
down over, yeah.
Yeah, like a cover for a double bed or something like that.
Sure.
And those are the ones I make for charity.
Yeah, good.
And it's just, for me, there's so much of stuff that the bigger you make it, the more fabric you use.
Yeah.
Number one.
Absolutely.
But I'm now having some issues with getting them quilted.
Yeah.
So Future Cat, her channel, and we have a challenge is how many quilts we get done between now and December. She's ahead.
Yeah. I haven't seen her for a little bit. I watch her, but I'm so behind on everyone over the past month and a half, 2 months. It's been kind of different around here. So
yeah.
But I'll get back to normal. I will.
Future Cat came to the virtual sew date that we had from our channel.
Yes.
And that went over really well. I was quite surprised how many ladies, how many people showed up, right? It was like,
I had really wanted to do that too, but it didn't work out for me this year. You're going to do it next year?
You're talking about the Stitch Marathons. I'm talking about
the Stitch Marathon. Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah.
our channel now is doing monthly sew dates. So right now in our Facebook group, we're trying to decide which sew date we're going to have.
Okay.
Right. So I put a poll up. My
Mhm.
very first poll, I took, you know, it was
I've
like,
never done one yet, so good for
yeah, they
you.
were fun. So when you go in to make your poll, they've got a thing when you make a comment in a group, they say more, and then one of the options is poll, and that's where you know, okay, which
Oh,
one do
I'll
you
have
want?
to try that.
Yeah.
Good to know. Thank you. Yeah, I don't have a lot of time to spend on my Facebook group because, you know, you figure make the videos, edit the videos, upload the videos, description boxes, this and this and this and this, and then replying to comments, but then you got to have time to sew. And then of course you have to eat, you got to clean your house, you know, you got life. So I tend not to get to Facebook probably every other day. It's very rare that I'm there 3 days in a row because I
Well,
can't find the time.
well, and it's not only that, the summer times are always busier with, you know, friends
Sure.
coming over and grandkids and going here and going there and, you know, all
Mhm.
this stuff, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's kind of one of those, okay, you got to pick and choose for me, it's all about energy levels. What
Well,
do
that's
I,
it for me
yeah,
too. Yeah.
yeah, because I have fibromyalgia. A lot of people don't know that, but I guess they
Yeah.
do now.
I do
And
too. Yeah.
and you have to pick your
You
energy.
do.
Okay, this is my energy. I don't know what I'm going to have, so what do I need to get done?
See, that's what I do, Brenda. And I'm glad that you said that. I'm not glad that you have it. I don't mean it in that way.
No.
But I'll say to my friends or my family, I'll say, oh, it sounds good if I say I'm going to film on Tuesday. But I don't know on Tuesday if I'm going to feel well enough to film. So what I do now is if I have a day where I'm feeling really good, because I have other health conditions other than fibromyalgia,
Yeah.
other painful conditions. So what I do is if I have a day where I feel really good, I film. If I don't feel good, I don't film. I can't do it. So
And then, you
that's
know,
where
yeah,
it
you
comes
gotta,
in
what
getting
is it?
ahead.
What is it? My mother called it picking your battles. You had to pick your battle.
Sure.
What are you going to do today with whatever little energy you have?
You
You know,
have, and that's
so, yeah,
true. Absolutely, Brenda. I
yeah.
agree.
So, anyways, we're now your roast is getting done, and your granddaughter's on her way. So I'm looking
Yes,
at the
yes,
time
she
here.
is. And I'm ripping out my mistake. I only made one though.
It's
I'm proud
okay.
of myself.
It's okay. It's okay.
I've really had fun, Brenda. This has been great. I
Yeah.
appreciate you having me over to sew with you.
Well, it's, you know, it's so much fun that we had a chance to do a collaboration. You know, I think we've been waiting to do this collaboration until
We have.
like, wow, when is this going to happen? And it's like, yeah, but everything was conspiring against us. It seems
It
like.
really was because they were really valid reasons why it couldn't happen. And I was so excited to begin with, and I had told everyone that we were doing it. And here it is 3.5 months later, we got it done.
Finally, well, I mean, yeah,
We
it's
did.
just, you know, you can't help when your internet goes down. You can't help when this happens. You
That's
can't help
right.
when that happens. You know, it's like, it is what
Exactly.
it is,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, anyways,
Uh,
I'd like to say goodbye to you.
Yes.
It's
Well,
been so
thank you
much
for
fun.
having me, Brenda. It's been really fun. It's been really fun. And I love seeing your quilts and hearing about your quilts and everything that you're working on.
Yeah, well, like I
Always.
say, we'll have more stuff coming up. So, anyways, you take care. All
You
right, bye,
take care too,
everybody.
Brenda.
Have
Yeah.
a
Bye,
wonderful day.
everyone. Thanks for watching.
My husband and I would like to thank you for watching today. We're so happy about the way our channel has grown, and we just want to wish you so well in your journey along with us. Please like, share, and subscribe, and tell your friends. Now, the next thing is this quilt. We are wondering if you guys would like this quilt as a free sew along on this channel this fall, this coming fall, winter. We were kind of thinking that this one would be really fun to do. We could do it in a larger size or a smaller size, it's up to you, but this one was a lot of fun to make. And it's all, it lends itself to being hand stitched, but you can also do this on a sewing machine as well. So let us know in the comments below. Remember, share, like, subscribe, tell your friends. Okay, have a great week ahead. Bye!